this to say to the modern young girl, gentlemen. Be free, express yourself, take your life in your own hands and mold it. The world will try to rob you of your freedom, but fight for it. It's all you have to live for.
Just relax.
That's all for the modern girl, gentlemen. What else? Ask me anything.
Welcome back, everyone. My name is Caitlin, and I'm so glad that you're joining me today on this thrift flip. So let's go. I bought this 100% linen maxi dress at Salvation Army. It caught my eye for many reasons, particularly the fact that it was 100% linen, meaning it would be a great dress for the hot, sticky summer ahead. Its lovely powder blue color paired with the contrast of the buttons, and lastly, the detail on the sleeves and bottom. I grabbed it not sure what I was going to turn it into, but figured inspiration would strike eventually, which it did. So let's talk inspiration. I wanted to turn this blue denim maxi into a shirt dress, particularly in the style from the 1940s, and that's where I've taken inspiration. Transforming from a maxi to a 1940s shirt dress meant creating two pieces, a more fitted bodice and skirt that would be brought back together at the waist and bringing up the hemline to knee length. I first thought shirt dresses had originated in the 1940s, and I'm glad I checked because I was sorely mistaken. Shirtwaist dresses first gained popularity in World War I as many women found themselves in office spaces and other workspaces during the war. However, we have to look back another decade or two for the original inspiration that I found mentioned in a Wall Street Journal article published in 2018 by Nancy McDonald. She says, "The shirtwaist and tailored skirt served as a uniform for the 1890s new woman who demanded the same educational and professional opportunities as men. Rather than wearing fussy dresses bedecked with yards of the over-the-top trim beloved by Victorians, she preferred progressive menswear-inspired clothes. Since neither the shirtwaist nor the skirt required precise fits, they were easily mass-manufactured." So, back to the 1940s, I mentioned earlier that the hemline would be knee-length, and it isn't just because of the flattering line of where it falls, but because the hemlines were impacted by the events of the decade. I'm verbatim quoting from the DoD here, which is the Department of Defense in the United States. So they say, prior to World War II, factories in the United States were turning out automobiles, large and small appliances, and children's toys. In January 1942, a mere month after the attack on Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, President Franklin D. Roosevelt ordered the establishment of the War Production Board. Its purpose was to convert the factories of peacetime industries into manufacturing plants for weapons and military equipment for the fight. The second goal was to conserve materials like metal, which soldiers, sailors, and Marines would need for the fight in such things as guns, ordnance, tanks, ships, aircraft, tactical vehicles, and so on. Other items considered essential for war included petroleum products, rubber, paper, and plastic. That meant strict rationing for civilians, such as limiting vehicle usage and the purchase of luxury items. The War Production Board lasted until just after the end of World War II in October 1945. Besides turning industries around to wartime production, U.S. industries also supplied much of the military equipment needed by the Allies, including the United Kingdom and the Soviet Union. To illustrate the magnitude of the transition to wartime production, there were about 3 million automobiles manufactured in the U.S. in 1941. During the entire war, only 139 cars rolled off the assembly lines. Instead, automakers built guns, trucks, tanks, and aircraft engines. Okay, so in addition to changing the products factories were producing, the War Production Board also created the L-85 regulation. The L-85 regulation was put into place in 1942 and changed the everyday life of Americans drastically. The regulation rationed fibers and forbade any extreme changes in fashion. This was because they were afraid that drastic fashion changes would negatively impact the war effort. Colors were also limited, and a set of restrictions were made on clothing lengths as well. It's always fascinating to me to look at historical events through the lens of fashion. We can see a direct effect of the events of the times through something as small as a hemline. Let's take a look at a 1930s pattern. Hemline is mid-calf, and here is a 1940s pattern where the hemline is knee length. And then, in the 1950s, the hemline is back below the knee. World events hidden in a hemline. Amazing.
This is the Stuyvesant Casino in New York, where Bunk Johnson's New Orleans band is recording for V-Discs.
Now, getting into the alterations. First up was marking my natural waist. Roughly marking where darts need to go. And where I would need to cut to make the bodice piece separate from the skirt. There was the pulling up the hemline and realizing I'll need to sew the slits at the bottom of the dress shut. And pinning new side seams. Once the newly formed bodice was cut, I transferred all the markings I made on the right side to the wrong side. Oh, I also improvised some back darts, which you'll see what happens later. Anyways, here's my cat, Spark, telling me it's time to feed her, even though it was not time to feed her. And here are the improvised darts that, again, stay tuned. All the darts done, technically, but here are the improvised back darts that are not straight, so they might as well be like... But I decided to leave it for the next day because I just couldn't with the seam ripper at that moment, so I sewed the new side seams for the bodice, and here it is.
Well, good morning. It is day 2 of flipping this dress. And I need to go back and fix the darts that I put into the back because every time I try to wing it, it doesn't work out. I thought I would eyeball the darts and everything would magically turn out fine. That's not how it turned out. They're all wiggly and they really need to be redone. So we're gonna do that first today.
Let me do it again right now. Keep rolling.
There's a very unglamorous portion of sewing consumed by the seam ripper and undoing what was already done. And I spend a lot of time with my seam ripper, and this isn't even all the footage, but you get the idea. While seam ripping, I then toyed around with not putting in back darts. I don't know, maybe I was just avoiding the potential seam ripping quality time again. So I decided to leave the back alone for now.
Okay. It's still big. No, you should pull in. I really don't want it to be super form-fitting though. I want it to be relaxed and just like a casual, comfortable shirt dress. So I think I'm gonna leave it oversized. Besides the darts that I put in and pulling in at the side seams. And then I might do that gathering right here. That might be something that I do. I need to go look. I also need to see where the shoulder seams are supposed to lie, because it is a bit big. We'll continue. So, 3 pleats have been added on this side, and it has brought the shoulder seam up significantly. And look at that, look at just how much nicer it lies on my shoulder. And even the sleeve looks perkier than before. I did have to add pleats to the back as well, because otherwise I have this excess of fabric and I really don't want to rip out all of these seams. So we're playing with it, we're adding on. I don't know if there were ever little pleats like this added to the back of the shoulder seam in the 40s. Definitely in the front, so I feel like it could work.
With the shoulder pleats finished, I was done with the bodice for now and moved on to figuring out where to cut on the skirt piece to get the hemline I wanted for the dress. Once I had an idea, I went to the bottom of the dress where I hand sewed the slits shut. There were 3 total, 2 side slits and then 1 at the front where the buttons were. The slits were now closed and I moved on to cutting the skirt the length I wanted. This meant cutting off from the top rather than the bottom so that I could keep the hemline that was already sewn. I marked the sew line and then marked in 2 gathered lines that I would use a base stitch on.
Look at this. Hey, I need that. Can you please get off? Excuse me. Can you please get off? Oh, what was that? Oh. Wow, tell us how you really feel. Okay, I'm gonna make you move in a second if you're not gonna get off on your own. Okay, that's the way it is.
Earlier I had sewn the gathered skirt to the bodice but was not happy with the back, which led me to seam ripping again and decided to use a pattern piece I had to mark the back darts. It's from a dress I recently made and coined the Strawberry Ice dress, and we'll link it here for you to check out after this video. Oh, I also added pleats to the top of the back. The dress needed a belt, so I took the fabric I had left over from the midsection and used it to cover a canvas belt that I never wear. I really love the contrast of the blue with the leather and thought it would tie in nicely with the buttons. I slipped the cover over the belt and then hand sewed the edges to secure it at each end, and ta-da! A new belt.
We'll be together again. I know there'll be the same old moonlight we knew for me, for you. Dreams of tomorrow go deep in my heart, and when we settle down, we'll soon forget we've ever been apart. Some peaceful evening in a peaceful town, in some peaceful town.
Thank you for coming along on this flip. I hope you enjoyed it. Please don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell, like this video, and leave a comment if you'd like. I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!
Thank you.